good afternoon, good late evening, depending on where you are. This is Reveal and Heal. You know, you can't heal if you won't reveal. I'm Coach Debb, and I'm back with the beautiful Blossom Rogers. She's going to talk about her testimony. She's going to talk about where God has brought her from over the years. You know, if you were to go to Relationship Lounge YouTube page, you'll get her full story of part one. But let me just go ahead and talk to everybody that's listening this morning. To all you overcomers, to all of you loyal listeners, I want to tell you thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every 6 a.m. Eastern Time Monday over here in the United States and different parts of the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for also subscribing to the Relationship Lounge YouTube page where you're able to see the stories that you miss on the Facebook Live. Of course, thank you for subscribing to Spotify and different outlets where the podcast is going every single day, but a new one goes up every Monday Eastern Standard Time in the United States. I want to tell you thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been knowing Blossom for a while now, and it's been such a pleasure and an honor to get to know such a courageous woman. You know, I find that when we share our stories on Reveal and Heal podcast, the important thing is that we are freeing ourselves. But we do know that as we share, others are being healed as well. There are people that have hidden sins. They have pain because of underlying issues that they have not dealt with. Listen, mental health is a big deal in the Black community. It's a big deal in all communities, but it is rapid in our community because you're looked upon a certain way, you know, when you are dealing with mental health. Back in the day, so many different things, you know, family members, neighbors, and different ones they would do if they found that there was something different about you. Oh, let me tell you, they would handle it themselves. They put you in a hole in the backyard and put tin over, you know, or one of those chicken type screens so you could breathe from the hole that you're put in, or they'd hide you in a room. You know, mental health wasn't dealt with in a way to where you could live and be functional. You know what I'm saying? So I just thank God that we are in a day now, even in the Christian community, that we're bringing things to the forefront. And it's not demonized so much as being a demon. You know, it's communication and it's talking about the hurting places.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the hurting places, that's the beginning of the healing. That's the beginning of the healing process. So I'm just grateful for this healing platform. And of course, you know, I'm Not Okay Why radio show that comes on every Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over here in the United States. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can, of course, be sure that this part one and part two, is going to also be aired on the radio station, Really Real Radio. You'll need to log on anywhere in the world, reallyrealradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and show your love for Blossom Rogers this morning. Thank you, sister, for saying yes to this.
Girl, you know anything for you, sugar lump. You know it. You know it. Girl, I thank God for allowing you to let me come back on your platform. And I ask that God show you favor for being obedient and saying yes. Because you didn't have to do it, you know what I'm saying? But I ask God to show you favor. And once again, it's truly an honor to be here with you. And do you know what today is? God bless it. I'm 19 years clean today. 19 years clean. As you know, like I spoke on my first part of my story, I was on crack for 19 years. But God, today I got 19 years clean. So it's all because of God. Because I liked it smoking crack. I tell everybody, I liked it all the butt naked parties. I liked it all the this and that. And I did everything out there but slept with an animal. And since I was on crack so bad, if the dope boy said, Blossom, sleep with that dog for a hit of crack, I would have. That's how bad of a crackhead I was. Am I ashamed of anything I've been through? No, because that wasn't me. That was the spirit of addiction. We have so many people that are dealing with secrets. We just as sick as our secrets.
There you
So
go.
today I'm here to share some of my secrets. Well, there are no secrets because I put it in a book. Um, God bless me. I am the author of 4 books. From Under Bridge 1, From Under Bridge 2, and They Laugh, and When They Laugh. Because we got 2 kinds of laughter. Are they gonna laugh with you or laugh at you? You understand? Make sure you know who's in your boat. Are they, you could be in the boat rowing, this hard, and you got somebody in the back of the boat with a plastic butter knife punching holes in it. So in this season, we got to make sure we know who is surrounding us. Are they praying for us or preying on us? You understand me? It's 2 different kinds. But God bless you. I'm the author of From Under Brick 1, Book 1. It tells you what led me to smoking crack. And we were talking earlier, we're just as sick as our secrets. So for 19 years, I told around somebody else's secret. Like you said, in African American, we was taught whatever happens in the house stays in the house.
That's right.
You did not give mama food out, and you did not tell what was going on in the house. My grandmama used to say you can live in a glass house. Nobody know what you're going through unless somebody come out that glass house and tell it. When I was coming up, we couldn't tell that somebody was touching us or molesting us. We couldn't do that because they didn't want nobody to know that this was happening at their house. It was okay if it was at somebody else's, but not here. Like you said, with mental illness, if you had an auntie or uncle that made the family look bad, they put them in the back room somewhere, But today I'm here to tell you that God brought me through both of them, molestation and mental illness. So in the book, I talk about my molestation, how I went through that. God, I have a lot of people that say, Blossom, how can you talk about it? Because God taught me how to forgive my abuser. And then God taught me how to forgive myself. Because that man didn't grow up saying he wanted to molest a child. Hurt people hurt people. It either happened to him or he's seen something. You just don't think of these things on your own, okay? So I talk about that. I talk about how I got pregnant at an early age, how I got married at an early age, how I got with a guy who was already on crack. And because I had been molested, I didn't know where I belonged. I just wanted to fit in. That's where that word come in, people pleaser. But today I'm a God pleaser. You understand me? People pleaser, because we know everybody's not going to pat you on your back and say you're doing a good job. That's why you have to encourage yourself like David did. Everybody is not going to be, everybody wasn't happy that I got clean and sober. You understand me? Just like the prodigal child. The brother wasn't happy that he came home. So I had to learn how to deal with that too, because I thought that people would be so happy she's off of drugs. But see, that took the focus off of me and started putting on them. Because they was always saying, look what she's doing, look what she's doing. But today God allowed me to write to say what I had did. So like I said, in book number 2, now this is the juicy part, y'all. But I'm gonna tell y'all some of the story, but y'all gonna have to get the book, like I tell everybody. I'm still a hustler. I'm still a hustler, but I hustle for God now. So in book number 2, let me tell you a little bit about that. God delivered me from a homosexual lifestyle. Because I had been molested and raped, I thought going with a woman was better. Now let me stop you right there. I don't want nobody to say she judging. I'm talking about what Blossom been through. I can't dance in your shoes. I'm dancing in my own shoes. And by me going through that, I was confused. I thought going with a woman was better, because a woman knows how a woman wants to be touched. A woman knows how to talk to a woman. And so at that time when I was involved with her, I would have married her back then, because it felt like I belonged somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But that's Blossom's lifestyle. I talk about how I had a man to leave me for another man. This brother was fine as all outdoors, but he still left me. I talk about how I was involved with the guy who was HIV positive. But I'm here today to tell you that I'm 19 years clean, no crack, no alcohol. I don't have AIDS and I don't have HIV. Unfortunately, he died 12 years ago due to complications. And you know what? Sometimes people can say something. Your immune system was so strong. No, that was the blood of Jesus that covered me. It was the blood, the same blood, like with Cain and Abel, they cried out to the Lord. That was the same blood that covered me. It wasn't by no science, no lab. It was because the blood covered me, because God had a purpose and a reason for everything I was going through. Am I ashamed? I want to say it again. No, I'm not ashamed. I talk about how I was an unfit mother. I didn't know how to be a mama. There's no manual for anybody. If Adam and Eve's family was jacked up, ours is going to be jacked up. And I thank God for my mother and my great grandmother because they stepped in and they raised my boys because I was cared. Anything could have happened to my children, but I thank God that nobody molested them because of me and my carelessness. I really think that God raised me up to break that generational curse because, as we know, things be passed down. Um, is it easy talking about everything I've been through? No. But as long as I got God with me, because He said He'll never leave me nor forsake me, I can do anything. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So that's why I'm here today to be able to tell you, if He delivered me, He can deliver you. But you gotta want it. At times, I used to try to get clean and sober for family, church, children. But today, 19 years later, by the grace of God, I'm doing it for Blossom. I don't keep my recovery in my mind because our mind is a battlefield. I keep it in my heart because I know that long as I can stay clean and sober, and if I can help one person, I'm doing good. Somebody's went. We have so many people that are in the churches. We got pastors, deacons, first ladies. A lot of them have been through molestation, but because of their titles and uh, they don't want people to know what they used to. And we have people that are in the church. Yes, babe, I used to do that. We got to stop beating these people up when they come inside these churches. We're going to be accountable for the way we treat people. We're going to have their blood on our hands. It's not about these big hats, because when you take the big hats off and these long dresses, they come up just like the short dresses. We got to stop beating these girls, because she might have just got off a pole that morning, but she coming to the Lord. She's going to the Lord. She ain't coming to you to save her. She coming to the Lord to save her. That's the only one that can change her. So we're gonna have to be careful, y'all, how we minister to people. I have piercings. I have one here for 16 years clean, and then I have one here for 18 years clean. And I had a person in the church, a leader, to tell me, "Oh, you're going to hell." I said, "No, I'm going to heaven right along with you." We worried about holes when we should be worried about souls. That's what it's about, winning souls for the kingdom of God. Everything I went through wasn't for me. It's to be able to help somebody else. If somebody come and say, "Well, you don't know how I felt when I lost my mama or my sister while I was in prison." Yes, I do, because I lost my brother while I was in prison. They denied me. So when I got out of prison, I used that as a crutch to continue to keep getting high. My brother did, because my brother and I were so close. And no matter what I did, I was always his big sister. And my nickname is Beaton. But when he died, I blamed myself because I should have been there. It wasn't my fault. That was his time to go. That was just his time to go. When I lost my dad, my real dad, thank God I was in recovery, because me and my dad, we used to get high together. But when he seen that I wanted to really get clean and sober, I never forget, he told me, he said, "Big head," because he's called Big Head. He said, "Big Head, don't come back here." And I said, "Yes, sir." Because sometimes you have to change people, places, and things. That's just what might be good for you might not be good for me. Everybody got a bridge. Your bridge might not be mine, and mine not be yours, but we need to come from up under the bridge and live. So that's why I want to share my story. Uh, when you're standing up on a stage and you're looking out to the faces of people, that's why I say don't look at the people's faces. Just tell them, "Thus saith the Lord." I've had women, when I told them how I was in threesomes and orgies, and I'll never forget how this African woman looked at me and frowned up her face. I had to get my mind right because the flesh wanted to come out. But I had this woman told, I said, "Now, if you had a man to go and lay up with somebody else and then come back home to you, that's a threesome. So don't get it twisted. It is what it is." Like I said, you have people tell you, "I would do this." You don't know what you would do when you're in that predicament. I was smoking $500 to $600 a day, and I liked it, everything about it. Like I said, I just didn't like the consequences that came with it. Unfit mother, prostitute, drunk, lesbian, liar. You know how some people look out the blind and say, "Oh, here come Mary." Girl, they would look out the blind and say, "Here come Blossom." They pick their whole house up and move, because I was a mean crackhead. I was a mean alcoholic, because I was suppressing the hurt, the anger, because how dare them not let me say somebody molested me? How dare them they say I was a liar? How dare them they say that it was my fault? I was a child. And I'm telling somebody out there today, we were children. And back then, I'm 57. Back then, you did whatever an adult told you to do. You didn't tell them no, or what you want to do. Because when I was coming up, the next door neighbor used to beat you, then the next door neighbor could beat you, then mama beat you. That's the kind of growing up I had. It took a village. I tell people, even when I was in prison, I still knew how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I don't care how much alcohol I drank, how much crack I smoked. I still knew how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, because my great grandmother instilled that in me. Whatever happens in the house, stayed in the house. That's the way I was taught. But I want somebody to hear me. We're just as sick as our secrets. So stop holding on to the secrets. Remember, it wasn't your fault. You got to remember that God said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. So like I say, in the book, I talk about how I went to treatment facilities, after treatment facility, prison, jail. I did it all, y'all. I did it all but slept with an animal. And I know some people saying, how? I've, I've known some people that have done that to get their drug of choice. And people think it's a funny thing when they see a woman or man going down on a dog or doing it with a dog. People, but you know what? When people do, people like that, they just as sick as the person who's doing the drug. If they can make somebody do something like that, they don't have no kind of, it's a walking zombie. They don't care. So that's why we have to learn how to love ourselves and encourage ourselves, because everybody's not going to encourage you. Like when it came time when I said, oh, I wanted to stop smoking crack. Oh, girl, do it tomorrow. And here I will, okay, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never came, and tomorrow never came, and tomorrow never came. We got to stop and do it today, because tomorrow's not promised to us. That's why God has me here today on June the 4th, my 19th year clean, telling you that if he cleaned me up, he can do it for you. There's different kinds of addiction. Some could be sex, food, drugs, alcohol, porn. It's different kinds of addiction. And the same God that cleaned me up with my addiction, he could do it for you. But you got to want it for yourself. I try to do it for God. I try to do it for church, mama, children. But today I do it for Blossom. I keep my recovery in my heart, not my mind, because our mind could be a battlefield. But I keep it in my heart, because I don't have a comeback. You know, some people can go out there and come back in. I don't have a comeback. I know I won't make it back. I know I'm standing here flat-footed on a Sunday at 5:39 Central Time, telling you I don't have a comeback. If I go back, I know I'm gonna die. So if I know this, I don't need to put no lab coat on. Now they got drugs out. If you touch it, you could die. I thought we had some potent stuff back then. See, I'm from Florida, so our stuff came off the boat. But now they got a drug out. If you touch it, you can die. And the sad part is, like when I was smoking crack, I seen a young man go into convulsion after hitting a piece of crack. First thing we talking about where he got that from. Now they had to tote him off in the ambulance, but we talking about where he got that at. That's some good dope. That's the insane part when it comes to this addiction. So that's why I stand and tell my story. Don't care who laughs at me, because each time God allows me to get on a platform, I wouldn't care if the platform is in the grocery store on aisle number 7. Just for a mother to say, thank you for sharing your story because my son or my daughter is going through that. That's a platform. Everybody want to be on the big stages. It ain't about no big stages.
Right.
It could be in a bathroom, stopping and telling your story, praying for somebody, praying for a mother. You know, how can I do? What can I do? The parents can't do nothing. It's up to the child. It might sound hard, but if the child don't want it, I had people talking to me till they was blue in the face. But it didn't happen until Blossom wanted it. And now I eat recovery. I live for recovery. Because without recovery, I wouldn't be able to be here today. I wouldn't be able to be. I'm a grandmother of 13 and a great grandmother of 3. What I wasn't able to do with my children, God has given me another chance with my grand. My generation to come, God bless me. In March, I was asked to come back to our hometown. It was 5 other women and myself. Mary Bethune McLeod's original little house is in our park where they This park is where everybody used to go. We used to buy the drugs and everybody hung out. There was a murder out there. This was a bad area where they took it and beautified it. And they bought Mary Bethune's original little house and put it inside the park. But right across the street is another museum, Mary Harrell Black Heritage Museum. When they got in contact with me to tell me that I was 5 other women and myself were being honored and going to be put in this museum, I couldn't do nothing. I had to cry because this is the same place that I had people to spit and kick on me and said I wouldn't amount to nothing. So when my grandchildren and great-grand and great-grand go in this museum, they're going to see their grandmama up on the wall, not no jail picture, a picture of me with my book beside it. They can say that's my grandmama. But see, my children weren't able to say that because I was out there getting high. They used to run for me. They didn't hate me. They hated the things I was doing. I had all boys, and boys don't want to hear nothing like that about their mama. But God bless me, I've got a relationship with them. Now it took some time. I want somebody to hear me real well because we did a lot of damage to them children. We maybe didn't sexually or physically abuse them, but mentally we abused them. I don't know which is worse, the sexually or the mental. I used to tell people I'd rather get a black eye than a word, because a black eye depends on who hit you. It might last 2 weeks, but a word would stick with you for the rest of your life. That's why we have to be careful of what we say to people, because we can say something that we can't take back. Now we can apologize it, but every time they see you, they remember what you said. So what I'm saying is, y'all, we got to want to do better for ourselves. When we know better, we should do better. You know how some people I see on Facebook where you see girls or guys that's on crack and they got a powerful voice. They got a calling on their life. They got a calling. And we have to be careful how we treat, because we don't know who God has a calling on. We have to be very careful how we handle people. They double teamed me one night, but see, I put myself in that predicament. See, sometimes the person can have the gun and you got the bullets, and when you give them the bullets, they're supposed to shoot everything they got at you. That's just the way things are. So this one night, drunk and high, I went and jumped in something I ain't had no business jumping in. And I had these 3 girls. Now and one thing about it, I could be true to Blossom, so that way I could be true to you. If you ask me, Blossom, did you do such and such? If I did it, I'll tell you I did. But if I didn't do it, I didn't do it. But one thing I could say, if I did it, yes, I did it. Yes, I did. Because I did a lot of things. But they beat the brakes off of me. That's the proper word to say it right now. They beat me. One was beating me in the back, one was kicking me, and one spit on me. But to this day, I'll never forget, I told the girl, I said, as long as you live, don't never put your feet on nobody. So when God started cleaning me up, this girl started going to prison back to back to back to back to back. See, I know I got a calling on my life. That's why I had to go through everything I had to go through to be able to help somebody. If I help one person, I'm doing just fine. So when God blesses me to go, like when God blessed me, I was on Pastor Clifford Dollar show. God allowed me to be myself, and Pastor Dollar allowed me to be myself. Because you know what? Your gifts will make room for you. When I was a little girl, I talked a lot. And I had them Caucasian teachers, and they would say, Blossom. I said, yes. Well, you're talking a lot today. Will you sit down? Now, I will still keep talking. So that's why I like to talk. But I'm talking about something today. Back then, I don't know what I was talking about. But today, I'm talking about something, telling you how clean and sober it feels to be clean. I mean, being able to take baths and looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing somebody instead of something. I didn't like water, and water didn't like me. You smelt me coming before you seen me coming. And I used to go in the club and thought I was the finest thing there was. So much a hair on my arm, you could have braided and put beads on it. I remember all this stuff, because I don't want to never go back that way again. Never. I'd rather for God to call me home. You know, when we go back out there, it's 7 times worse.
Yeah.
And I kept going back and back and back and back and back and back until I was just tired. And then I had joined the church, got saved. And you know what? In the olden days, they had a Terry. But I'll never forget, I had them relapse. It was on my birthday, and I was drinking that thing. And I'll never forget, I was in my kids' room, and I looked out the window. I said, Lord, if it's your will to give me the utterance of tongue, and he baptized me right then and there. I know that's what happened for Blossom. What I'm saying is, God knows everything. He created us. He knows what we will do, what we won't do. Like the woman at the well, he sent the disciples on go on, because you can't have everybody around you when you're trying to do something. You know what I'm saying? So he sat there. So when the woman came, I'm just paraphrasing. When she came, she had her head down, like I used to walk the street with my head down, because I hadn't been with so many men, so many women, so many orgies. But he waited the same way he waited for her, he waited for me. He said, I know she's going to go to prison, but I'm going to sit right here and wait for her. I know she's going to go to jail, I'm going to sit right here. The same thing. He waited for me because he knew what I was going to do. So that's why I tell everybody, it's not about where you started, it's where you end up at. I'm going to be a millionaire one day. I keep telling everybody, y'all better remember this name, Blossom Rogers, because it's going to be in big lights one day. And I'm going to be able to tell them what thus said the Lord. So like I said, the books, they've been doing real good. They've been, you know, I have a lot of people, they always worried about money. Girl, you made your money from publishing. I made more than money because God allows me to be able to travel telling my story. I would have never thought I'd been in Los Angeles, California. Never out there telling my story. I was out there in California and I had a woman to walk up to me after the women's conference, big women's conference. She said, I've seen you before. Now, back in the days when somebody said that meant that I had did a crime. But this time, she said, I've seen you before. And that's when she saw me on Pastor Clifford Dollar's show. And like I said, when I was on that show with him, I was up there with a millionaire. Back in the days, y'all, I would stole his shoes and everything else. But God allowed me to be, your gifts will make room for you. I was on the stage with a millionaire telling my story. And the title of my show was Coming Clean. So I let people know it's not about all the money. You can have all the money in the world, but if you have not dealt with your issues will deal with you.
You have to deal with your issues.
You got to. You got to. So like I said, you know, with the traveling and everything, then the book started coming out since 2010. God has blessed me. I'm a nonprofit organization from Under a Bridge, Safe Haven Home for Women. I went before Habitat 8 years ago and was just telling them, asking them, could they build me a home for women that want to stay clean and sober? Because if we don't have a safe place to go, we'll go back to them people, places, and things. So she said, Blossom, and her and I are good friends to this day. She said, Blossom, once you get your status, we'll see what we can do. I said, oh, Lord, ain't nothing to happen. But I did what they told me to do, what you need to do, and then we'll see what we can do. So when God blessed me to become a nonprofit organization, I called them. She said, oh, Blossom, we had a meeting about you. Now, back in the days when they said that, that meant I had a warrant for my arrest or they looking for me about something. But they sat down. God had them, the organization, Habitat, to sit down and have a meeting about Blossom. God touched their heart. They couldn't build a home for me, but they gave me my land. So I had my land, my blueprints, my building permit. I've been approved by God in the city. We get to house 6 women instead of 3 women. So now I'm just waiting for God to give me the provision. Now he gave me the vision. He told me to start here. And that land's going to sit there. Can't nothing else go on it but the home that was approved to go on there. He's already showed me it, but it's going to be in his time. Because I done try to have fundraising events and all this, but it's not going to be that way. Because when it's built, and I got people laughing at me like they laughed at Noah, but when the rain came, God closed the door, not Noah. I got people laughing at me. Girl, you ain't did nothing with that land yet. But when it happens, the only thing they're going to say, well, nobody but God. Because who gives land away? You understand me? Even when it came to the home being designed, the lady, what happened? Let me go back. She said, Blossom, we're going to give you a piece of land that we're never going to use, but you're going to have to get a lawyer to change the deeds over. I said, okay. So I called a couple of, they was talking about $2,000. I said, I ain't got no money. So I called one of my spiritual brothers and I told him, he said, okay, sis, let me make a call. And it was about 30 minutes, no longer than an hour. He called me back and gave me this number. So I talked to the dude and I said, sir, I said, if you let me make payments, I'll pay you off. He said, okay. The day that he put the last period on the paper, I said, I get paid next week and I'll send you a paper. He said, Blossom, this one's on me. So that's how the deeds got changed. The 3-bedroom, 2 bath, washer, dryer, kitchen, nook area design. I was talking to the lady. I said, ma'am, if you let me pay you off. She said, okay. So the day that she was bringing me the blueprints, we met at Barnes and Noble here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Now my books are on the shelf there. She said, Blossom. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, now we were signing the papers. She said, Blossom, she said, you told me you were an author. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I'm going to the beach this weekend. I don't have anything to read. If you give me a signed autograph book, we'll call it even. I ran to the biography department, snatched them books off, and was signing it like I was making a new law. That's how God paid for the blueprints. My building permit was $1,501. I said, Lord, I ain't got no $15,000, $1,500. I had a woman of God, we was talking, and she stopped laughing. I said, oh, Lord, I must have said something wrong. She said, Blossom, I hear the Lord saying, give you 1,000. You know how little babies reach up and say, pick me up? I was waiting for God to pick me up. I only had $500 back. I said, now, if I take the 5 out, she said, Blossom, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the whole $1,500. Now, God got me so spoiled with this. I said, so I got to put the dollar in, and we went to laughing. When I went to the city halls to pay for my permit, I didn't have a dollar bill. I had 4 quarters. So God bless me. That's how I paid for the building permit. God showed me favor. Here in Alabama, you're only allowed to have 3 non-related living in a home. God showed me favor. In the front of the city council, they said we could do 2 women to a room. That's favor, okay? So like I said, the land sitting there, and that house is going to be there. And like I said, I want something to leave on for generation to generation. Now, my second home will be called Tears from Under a Bridge, which will be for women and children, because I cried a lot of tears up under that bridge. And like I said, I just want to give back, because I took so much. I wanted to open up in my hometown because I had an older pops. He said, Sugar Lump, he used to call me Sugar Lump. He said, wherever you messed up at, that's where you clean up at.
That's right.
But God told me to start here. So like I said, that's with the home. And then God blessed me 2 years ago. I was working with a team, and they called me one late night, and they said, Miss Blossom, we get ready to do a film in Atlanta. I said, well, that's a blessing. I'm trying to think, well, what they got to do with me? At this time, they started telling me about the film. It was a young man. It's his true story. He was a big-time drug dealer, and he had to go do some fed time. So while he was doing his fed time, he wrote his life story. And the name of the film is called A Grandmother's Faith. And God bless it, I've gotten the leading part. Never acted a day in my life unless I was out there on the street trying to act to get some dope. But God showed me favor. I said, so do I need to audition? They said, no, you got favor. So that's how I got the leading part in the film that's coming up, A Grandmother's Faith, and I play Miss Maybelline Johnson. And then God blessed me last month. I just got back from Atlanta, and I was on the young lady's show. And then a couple of weeks later, she said, Blossom, I would love to put you in my magazine. And on the front page, I was like, God, thank you. And then it wasn't even a month later, and she's been in some film festivals and plays and have won first place. And she said, Blossom, I would be honored to do your documentary. So we filmed the documentary. God's will, it'll be out the late part of the summer. We plan on putting it in some film festivals, and then she's been talking with the producers with Tubi. So I'm truly blessed and honored about that. So what I want people to know is that God brought me from under a bridge to walk over the bridge to my destiny, and the best is yet to come. I'm telling you, the best is yet to come, and I'm standing on it, because God's word shall not return to him void. So like I said, I just want somebody to know, no matter where you start is where you end up at. Come from up under your bridge. Your bridge might not be mine, and mine might not be yours, but we all got a bridge. Everybody's dealing with something. With the mental illness part, I went through that. I went through the hospital. Last year, I was going through a little something, and I went back and started talking with a psychiatrist. I'm not ashamed about that. I'd rather sit on the couch than have a gun to my head. People want to stereotype, you're crazy. No, you're crazy for not going to get some help. That's the part right there that behooves me. I take medication for my depression. Not ashamed of it. And I just want to share it with somebody today, because somebody's going through what I'm going through. And I just want to let you know that it's going to be okay. You know, trouble don't last always. God said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. Now, and I want somebody to also know we're still going to have life issues, okay? When I moved here to Alabama, I was married. This is my second husband's, my ex-husband's hometown. And when I got here, he started cheating on me and brought another woman into my home. And the woman called me and told me. I said, who, they do that on TV. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I had to cry out to the Lord. Because, see, I was the kind of crackhead and alcoholic. If a bird got hit, I was going to get high drunk. But when a woman tells you how she done been in your home, back in the days, I'd have set her on fire and gutted him like a fish and got on the next thing smoking. But who would have been back in trouble? I would have. When you locked up, they still going to be doing the same thing. So I had to cry out to the Lord. And you know, you have these old seasoned saints. That's what I call them. The mothers in the church. Baby, don't worry about that. He don't mean nothing. Oh, Sister Knock Knock and Sister Flip Flop. You better listen to God and cry out to the Lord and ask him what to do. So I had to cry out to God. Lord, I need you to tell me what to do. So God bless. I went on and got the divorce. We're still friends, but that part of my life, that season is over with. Because my grandma always taught me you can never chew gum and spit it out and pick that gum back up and it have the same flavor. I don't want to go backward. I want to go forward. So first time buying a home, I lost at the foreclosure. Because after the divorce, I couldn't afford it. But I didn't go back to getting high. The money they gave me for relocation, I'm in it now. And I went to open my door to go to work one morning in my brand new car repo, but I didn't go back to getting high. So what I'm saying is, regardless of what we go through, we don't have to go back to the people, places, and things. Love yourself. I'm not saying be cocky, but look in the mirror and tell yourself. When I was coming up, they used to call me baby bubble lips. Ooh, I want the lip operation. I cried. But look at everybody now. They're going to get their lips blowed up. Only thing I do is line mine up and put my lipstick on and carry on. It's not what they call you, it's what you call yourself. And I call myself a child of God. Like I said, today I'm here to help, not hinder. Because back in the days, I didn't care what I did, as long as I got what I wanted. So like I said, my name is Blossom Rogers. Reach out to Facebook, Blossom Rogers. Instagram, Blossom Rogers. My phone number is 305-753-8164. Send me an email, BLOS, the number 2, white, at WHITE at yahoo.com. And if I had one thing to tell you today, look at just to hug yourself. How many times you had somebody just to hug you and say it's gonna be okay? When you don't have that, do it yourself. It's just like God hugging you. Each time I was up under that bridge, you know, don't get me wrong, I've been through AA, CA, NA, all of that. But I know who was up under that bridge with me. It was JESUS. Because if Bill would have been up on there with me, I probably would have had him smoking crack. But God was a keeper. He kept my mind the whole time. I was like smoking $500-$600 a day. I should be in a nursing home somewhere with a bib around my throat, with a diaper on, picking some flowers, can't nobody see but me, and scratching the areas that are not even itching. But God is a keeper. I'm here today to tell you. 19 years clean, but God. Not me, but God. So what I want to tell you today, love yourself, because God already do. And that's Blossom.
Blossom. Oh, Blossom.
God be the glory.
A blossom rose is what you are.
I receive that,
Thank
mother.
you. Thank
God
you for sharing. And you know, what I get from your story is that if it had not been for the Lord
Yes, amen.
on your side,
Mm-hmm.
he was there all the time.
All the time. All the time. He was there all the time. When I was going through the molestation, he still was there. Because he's going to use all this for his glory. Because no man, no woman, don't get me wrong. I had people that prayed for me. Don't get me wrong. But while they was praying for me, they always also was talking about me. But God was there the whole time.
The whole time.
Because you have so many people say, yeah, if it wasn't for my prayers, that's true. That's true. But if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be locked up or covered up, one of the two. So I give God the glory. And like I said, 19 years, 19 years, no alcohol, no drugs, no alcohol. And that's because of the grace of God. You know, I see people on Facebook, how they say they come home and drink a sip of wine. I ain't mad with them. I can't do it. Because if I pick up a wine cooler, then I'm going to wine. And me and Captain Morgan, we was good friends out there. And then I'm going to smoke some crack. So you got to do what's right for you.
Right.
Because everybody can't do the same thing. I know what I can't do. Because when and I have people that say, how did you write the book and tell it? Because, and I was scared, don't get me wrong, because I was telling the family secrets. But when I stand before the Lord, I'm going to be accountable because he gave me an assignment to do. I can't stand before God and say they was going to be mad with me because he want to use my life to get the glory, to show people. Because sometimes just touch, people need to see or touch to see that something is real. When I show people my before picture, when I was on crack, I had people, they stopped breathing. I said, breathe. That was me. Because I was, you know what? I don't want to die and not have lived, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
So that's why I just want somebody to, y'all, we want to live today. We want to live. Deal with your issues, because if not, they're going to keep on dealing with you. It's always an issue to why we getting high. Deal with the issue. Then you can start dealing with the addiction. People got it back. They want to deal with the addiction, and the issue is still, you're going to have to hurt in order to be healed. Snatch that Band-Aid off. Like the old people say, let that dirt get in there so it can heal. You want to heal from the inside out, not the outside in. Because the hurt is inside. How can I talk about my molestation? Because God taught me how to forgive my abuser. And then he taught me how to forgive myself. Because I did a lot of things I had no business doing. And we have to remember, hurt people hurt people. So let's stop hurting ourselves. Let God heal us so we can be able to help somebody else. Because this is more healing for me today. Each time he allows me to get on the platform, it's more and more healing.
There you go. There you go.
People don't believe that, but it's true.
It is the
Start
truth.
writing little notes. Writing letters to yourself. Writing letters to God. You ain't got to show them to nobody if you don't want to. But I'm telling you, start getting it out of you. Don't let it continue. It's not like in Florida we had a tornado. Ain't nothing but a tornado just swirling around. But like I said, love yourself, because God does. And he'll never leave you nor forsake you. Come from up under that bridge and live.
Amen. Loving yourself is key, because in abuse, no matter the abuse, you lose who you are. You don't see nothing beautiful. You don't see anything nice. And God is the answer. When you are able to see yourself the way God does, he will keep you. He will keep you.
He's a keeper.
So the assignment, what you go through in life, it's an assignment. It's an assignment. Because there are many out there that need to see the restored. Yeah. They need to see the delivered. They need to see the healed. Because a lot of people are like Thomas. Thomas had to put his finger in
That's right.
He
doubted. That's right.
Jesus didn't condemn Thomas for it. So we get it. We get it. Some people need to stick their finger in the nail-scarred hand. But one thing about God, he's a promise keeper.
Yeah.
In your words, you stated, he will never leave you.
That's right. That's right.
I want to thank you again for saying yes to this interview. It's been a long time coming. And when we did part 1, it wasn't time for part 2. It was always something that would interrupt that part 2. But as you stated today, you are 19 years clean. 19. But then you had been 19. It was it 19.
I was on crack for 19, and I've been off of crack for 19.
Now the anniversary, girl, listen to me.
Today is my anniversary. June the 4th is my anniversary today.
To God be the glory.
Yeah.
Because
this time, 19 years ago, I was in a mental hospital begging them to keep me, because I knew if I went back out the door, I was dying. So 19 years ago, I was in a mental hospital.
Begging for help.
And the lady begging for help. And I said, please don't let me go to your fireman, because I knew I was going to die. I just felt it. So 19 years ago, the lady was doing my assessment. And she said, Blossom, she said, are you willing to be relocated? I said, yes, ma'am. And she was going about maybe 25 minutes. She came back. And that's when I found out they were sending me to Miami to a treatment facility. So when they got me, I said, now I'm here in Miami. If I try the tricks I did in Daytona, they're gonna kill me now. So I ain't had nothing to do. I had to barbecue a meal, do one of the two. And God would say it was time. It's time for you to come on up out of there. It's time to come out. I still got the shirt, shoes, and the purse I had on that night when he called me out the crack house. So each time God allows me to show them items, I let people know, if you can't wear my shoes mentally or physically, because you got so many people, oh, I would have done. You don't know what you would have done. Pray to God that you make it out from what you done did, you know. But like I say, it's been 19 years today, June the 4th, 2023, 19 years.
Ooh, to God be the glory.
Yeah.
When did you give your life to God, when he just took over and helped you to understand life? Because one thing about life, and you talked about, before I let you go, I just gotta ask you this. You talked about, being clean. You experienced things that once upon a time would have took you back out there, but
Yeah.
you did not go back. At that point, God was in your life.
Yeah.
That's the only way you were able to have the strength to endure.
When that woman called me, and I felt in my spirit, but and I didn't have no family member here, just my ex-husband's side of the family. So I'm in Alabama, don't know nobody but his side, because all my peoples was in Florida. And when that woman called me and told me, when she called me, her voice was so pretty. She said, "Man, speak to Miss Blossom." I said, "Blossom speaking." Well, I was already having problems with him with other women, but I didn't know what to do, because I was listening to Sister Knock Knock and Sister Flip Flop, but I was listening to my heart too, because when I was out there with drugs, I felt like I deserved to get beat and all that, because I was putting myself in a predicament. But I'm clean and sober now, so I shouldn't have to put up with none of that. So when she called, I said, "Yes, this is Blossom speaking." She said, "I want to tell you about your husband." So I had to stop and get my mind. I had to shake my head to get my mind right, because I was finna go in flesh wide. But I knew she wasn't lying, because my home, I had wooden blinds, and you couldn't see inside my house from the blinds. And when she started describing stuff, I said, "I'm gonna tell you one thing." And by the grace of God, I was in Florida. So this is what had happened. He had told the woman that I had left him, but I went to Florida for a trip to visit my family. So he brought the woman into the house. He called her, and she came on in. But I couldn't blame her all the way, because my covenant was with him. But he knew that he was married. But it still fell on him, because you allowed her to come into our home. I said, "Let me tell you one thing. If I'd have came home, it would have been nothing you or nobody else could have said." She said, "I know." And she kept calling me Miss Blossom. And she was older than me. She said, she said, when I walked in the house and I seen all your pictures and stuff, she said, I cussed them out, because I could have got hurt. I said, "Yeah, that's true." I said, "But I tell you what," and what she was called, I don't know what made her tell me that day. I don't know if he didn't buy her a Big Mac. I don't know what happened, but I know she called and told me. But what she was doing, he had already told her that I had filed for divorce, and she wanted to write a letter to let the people know that she was one of the women that he was messing with. And at first, I'm not gonna tell you the lie. I said, my flesh is like, okay, yeah. But the Holy Ghost said, "Leave it alone. Just leave it alone." I don't have no hatred for her or him. I had to walk around that house, and the enemy has you thinking so many things. You know what I'm saying? But relapse was never one of them. Picking up was never one of them. I thought I was ugly and all that, but never to go and get no alcohol or no drugs. And I thank God for that. Because I knew the ugly part was a lie. Because we're all beautiful in God's eyes. He created us. But like I said, and to this day, she's seen me, but I've never seen her. And how I know about her, she said, "Miss Blossom," because she kept calling me Miss Blossom. She said, "You know who I am." I said, "No, I don't go out. I go to church, work, and home." She said, "I'm the woman that had to fight on the school bus." Well, I seen these two people in the newspaper, two women go to jail for fighting on the school bus, and that she was one of them. But she had called me and told me everything. So like I said, I don't wish nobody no harm, but my season was up. But I didn't go back to getting high. Like I said, I give God That's why I'm able to sit here today saying 19 years clean.
And that
They
was your
pull,
test too.
yeah, and you know how they say they can take it back to your hair and test it for
Hmm.
drugs. My hair short, they can pull it from the ear, nose, and it will show them I haven't had nothing in 19 years. That's one thing I can stand on, flat footed, and feel so good about it. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I'm I'm still a work in process. God,
We
it
all
said,
are.
yeah, we're God's children, not grandchildren. Ain't nobody graduated. So I won't,
Right.
you know,
Right.
some people think that we are holier than thou because you
Hmm.
ain't did such and such. No, boo boo. We all got something.
Yes.
Oh, we
God is
all got
still,
something.
he's still working on us. You
Yeah,
know, I really appreciate how you're showing the work, you're outlining the work. When you give God your life, when you receive the Holy Ghost, you know, that it's still work.
yeah.
You still got
You
choices.
still got to get out. You got
You
to,
still
yeah,
got, you still gotta make this, you still gotta make decisions. You decide if you're gonna live upright. You decide if you're going to make that choice. You decide if you're gonna backslide and go back to your old ways, or if you're gonna trust God, if you're gonna depend on him, if you're gonna look to him, and let him be God in your life.
yeah.
And you are really, you've shown us today how you have trusted God through the years, how you've done the work and you continue to do the work, how you're living. And my,
Amen.
my big mama have always said, she said, one thing about life, keep on living.
Yeah,
There are
yeah,
going to be so many things that you have to go through in this life
yeah.
because God is going to continue to show he's God in your life if you
That's
let
right.
him.
That's right.
Thank
That's
you.
right. That's right, sis. That's right. That's right. So, like I said, I thank God. And like I said, if it's anybody or anything I can do for anybody, I'm not perfect. I'm not a millionaire yet, because I'm gonna be that. I'm putting that out there. I'm here. And I'm not gonna let you play with my recovery because I don't play with my recovery myself. Either you're gonna barbecue or mildew. So like I said, Blossom Rogers, Facebook, Blossom Rogers, Instagram, phone number 305-753-8164. Email address BLOS, the number 2, white, WHITE, at yahoo.com. And like I said, come from up under your bridge.
I want to thank you. That information is in case there are bookings, people want you to come and speak or anything like that. Thank you for putting all that information out there. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I know this is a lot. This is a lot that you've heard. I pray that this story motivates, encourages you today. And it reminds you that God, he really loves you no matter where you are.
Yeah,
No matter where you are today, he didn't come in this world to condemn.
right.
He came to save,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's not done. He's not done. So don't give up on God because he won't give up on you. Ladies
Amen.
and gentlemen, I am Coach Debb, and it's been a pleasure. I always say you can't heal what you won't reveal. So remember to love yourself, love everybody, and be an example. Have an amazing day. You deserve it. Thank you, Blossom.
You welcome, baby. Love you.